Our client broke his thumb. He sustained something called a Bennett's fracture, which is a fracture of the bone at the base of the thumb, which is a pretty complex fracture. And the issue with it is that it requires surgery within 14 days. If you don't do it within that window, the bones that have broken and are displaced, they will grow together, they will be malaligned. He quickly informs his health insurance company, goes and sees his primary. He contacts our client's health insurance company and says, you need to get him into surgery immediately. He needs a hand specialist who's a surgeon at a surgical center where they could reduce this fracture. They sent our client to a doctor, but it turned out he was not a hand specialist. This orthopedist notified the health insurance carrier that he needs to see a hand specialist. 2-3 more days have gone by now. They arranged for our client to see a hand specialist. Turns out this hand specialist is not covered by the health plan. So now the health insurance company finally sends him to a hand specialist surgeon who is covered by the healthcare plan. So he immediately makes arrangements to get the surgery done. However, the surgical facility is not covered by the health plan. So they wouldn't schedule the patient for surgery. By the time he got to the right doctor that had privileges at the right facility that were both covered by the health plan, it was now mid-June. And the bones had grown together, and the procedure was much more extensive than what the procedure he originally needed. In fact, this hand trauma that he was going to sustain in order to break the fracture again and rearrange the bones was right in the area where the nerves innervate the thumb. And so after this surgery, due to its invasive nature, he developed complex regional pain syndrome. It began in his thumb, and his hand began to become mottled, as they say, allodynia, all the classic features of CRPS, but it became immobilized and he wasn't able to use it. That CRPS not only debilitated him in his one hand, it then spread to his other hand and then ultimately to his lower extremities, and he was left in a state where he was barely able to walk around for a while. And so we needed to decide who the defendants were. The case was tried before. The verdict came in at $7 million and change, and the court set it aside due to lack of evidence in the court's opinion on causation. This was tried by a different firm, so when it got to us, we were able to really focus in on the causation and take a different approach. I contacted Courtroom Animation. I wanted the liability to surface. I wanted the damages to surface. I wanted people on the part of the defense to look at it and say, we're in trouble and there's exposure. And this animation did exactly that. It showed the window within which the repair was supposed to be made and how less of a procedure was going to be compared to that which he needed if the malunionized bone ended up malunionizing, so to speak, and they needed to do a much more invasive procedure.
I was tasked with showing a lot of time had passed between when this minimally invasive surgery should have occurred and when this more extreme surgery that he really wasn't able to recover fully from actually did occur.
We had a tremendous amount of evidence on causation. They settled the case immediately. We were able to maximize the settlement and settle the case ultimately for $8 million. I did everything within my power with the help of this animation to get this case resolved for more than what the original verdict was, which I thought was a great resolution to the case.